Tonight, Reel to Reel gets a front row view of the hit comedy Nunsense.
Learn about some unique coat of arms from Father Joe Glass.
We'll learn how migrant workers are using the law to gain legal status.
Mike Gallagher has an opinion about a newly released religious film.
Plus, we'll take you to Maryland to see how highway safety is promoted there. Good evening, I'm Jane Rudolph.
And I'm Father Dave McAllen. Welcome to Reel to Reel. Good evening and welcome. Not long ago, on a community bulletin board, we informed you about a law signed by President Reagan that would grant amnesty to illegal aliens who met certain requirements.
Applying for legal status is a detailed and complicated process. Being aware of the law, filling out the proper forms, and answering a variety of questions are all important steps in completing the legalization process.
When attempted alone, such a task can be overwhelming. For those aliens living within the Diocese of St. Petersburg, Florida, assistance is available through an organization known as Daystar. Our first story tonight highlights the efforts of this organization.
Economic opportunities attract millions to the United States, many illegally. Estimates place the number of illegal aliens at 6 to 8 million. Whether crossing the Mexican-U.S. border or other points of entry, their illegal status often forces them to become itinerant workers or take low-paying jobs, such as farm hands.
Only special people pick the oranges, the lemons, and the grapefruits because most people don't want to do it because you get all scratched up from the branches and the thorns in the trees. And it's a very hard job. This we call a barracks. It's a camp. At one time, the government insisted on better housing for the migrant workers. It's about 10 by 10, and the whole family lives in it. And they just literally have mattresses wall to wall, and they sleep that way. And then they pick their mattresses up in the daytime, and they have a little hot plate or something that they cook at.
On November 6, 1986, a law was signed granting general amnesty to illegal aliens who meet certain requirements.
There's been a new law signed by President Reagan giving general amnesty to those undocumented aliens who have entered this country before January the 1st of 1982, and also covering special instances for the agricultural workers who have put in 90 man-days of work in any 1 year in the past 3 years, and some special considerations for the Cuban Haitian refugees who are in this country.
The Immigration and Naturalization Service estimates that nearly 4 million aliens may apply for amnesty under the new law. The Catholic Church has been actively helping those illegal aliens with the task of documenting their residency.
They have been in this country for a long time in a sense of being undocumented, illegally. They feel that they have broken the law. They feel that really they don't deserve to be here, so you've got to walk through all of that.
The Diocese of St. Petersburg, Florida, is at the forefront of providing counseling and services to help with this enormous task.
We hope that within the next couple of weeks, the information will be out to all of the parishes, inviting those people who want to avail themselves of the services that we are geared to offer.
Wally West is the legalization director for the diocese.
Our job primarily is through the St. Petersburg Diocese to reach out to all of the parishes here, get word out to the community, to those people who want to avail themselves of this general amnesty. We will provide the direction and guidance for filling out these papers so that they can submit them to the Immigration and Naturalization Service for the purpose of having their applications screened and accepted by them, and it's the eventual road to citizenship in the United States.
A seminar was held at St. Anne's Parish, Ruskin, Florida, to train volunteers helping the migrants prove the fact that they have lived in the country since 1982.
I stress to you again that we need to be creative in the kinds of documentation that people use or people provide to show proof that they've been here since before January 1st of 1982. They can use school records, birth certificates, rent receipts.
Lord, send us the gift of your Holy Spirit.
Father Christopher Fitzgerald, the pastor of St. Anne's, has a large concentration of migrants within his parish. DABAR, a voluntary organization based at St. Anne's, is helping document the migrants in the Ruskin area.
We have about 35 people who work in DABAR and about 35 people who work in St. Vincent de Paul. They do the collecting, they do the purchasing, they do the distributing. DABAR does all of the letter, the writing, the telephone calling, the recommending, you know, and petitioning monies from the government, interviewing, keeping records, because you have to have records if you're going to deal with the government. And we've done all of that. DABAR was something we really needed in the diocese because this Band-Aid effort wasn't sufficient to help in the plight of migrant farm workers. Anybody can give them a loaf of bread and anybody can give them a suit of clothes. But we needed to get down to the rock bottom of their problems. And the only way that that could be done would be to have volunteers interested and volunteers who had the time to just sit with people and listen to their story. Migrants are people that nobody wants to listen to them. And I think that in all Christian charity, if we ever wanted to get to the bottom of their problem, we have to listen.
The person that is going to come to you, that is going to have to develop a sense of trust, it is not going to be an easy thing for that person to come forth in the first place. Some people are still going to be very scared. They're not going to really understand what's happening.
You still live in Waimama? Mm-hmm. And you're married?
Yes.
We're going to do our very best in the field of interviewing, counseling, and helping these people through the whole process on the new immigration law. In fact, our volunteers will set up that we will do the initial screening. We will work through these people, even to the extent of walking them right through the whole process and sitting down with them when they appear before the immigration officials to get their temporary papers.
The effect of this new law will be wide-ranging. The obvious benefits include enabling people who have lived outside the mainstream to take advantage of the offerings of American society. But there is also a price to pay. The cost of applying for amnesty is high, up to $420 a family. Stiff penalties for employers who hire illegal aliens after May 6th may create a tight job market. And some farmers will be unable to bear the higher labor costs that may result. Bill Young is the co-director of St. Anne's DABAR.
The trend right now is for many of these farmers to go out of business. So what we're hoping is to recommend that the present young migrant farm workers further their education, learn a trade, so that they can go out the outside and get a job to supplement the work that they do in the fields. That's what they're going to have to do. And with the new immigration law, that will allow those young people who are here, who aren't documented at the present time, to take advantage of the education systems, learn a trade, and to be able to work in the factories and so forth.
Immigration reform brings both uncertainty and hope. Uncertainty about what's ahead for those who don't qualify for legal residency, but hope about the future for the many who do.
The work of the DABAR volunteers is admirable in that it will hopefully bring some illegal aliens out of hiding.
We're going to take a short break, but up next is Father Joe Glass. You know me, you know Reel to Reel, but you might not know what it takes to bring it to you each week. It takes the dedication of a creative, hard-working staff who roam the Delaware Valley looking for the stories that will make a difference in your life. But as in all modern media, bringing you the good news is complicated and expensive. For the past 5 seasons, we've been able to bring you this weekly show requesting only your cards and letters in return. If you're a new viewer, or if you've enjoyed the message of Reel to Reel over these past years, we'd like to thank you for watching and invite you to participate in this venture by actively supporting the show. Today, with costs rising all around us, we need your financial support. A donation of $5, $10, $20, or whatever you can send would help ensure the continued presence of this program. Send your contributions to Reel, 222 North 17th Street, room 907, Philadelphia, PA 19103. That's 222 North 17th Street, room 907, Philadelphia, PA 19103. And thank you.
Just as in family names, each diocese has its own coat of arms, representing their roots, history, and beliefs.
Up now is Father Joe Glass with some interesting information on the coats of arms for the Diocese of Trenton, Camden, and the Archdiocese of Philadelphia.
During the Middle Ages, when the crunch was on, one could hardly tell friend from foe. To overcome this hindrance, knights decorated their battle shields with identifiable designs. This was the beginning of heraldry, which first appeared in the church through the seal. The seal was used to authenticate documents, and it eventually became a form of personal identification. Over time, heraldry developed its own rules, grammar, and syntax. This age-old art form is seen today in the ecclesiastical coat of arms. It is composed of 3 parts. First, there is the shield, on which appears emblems associated with the user. In the United States, many prelates and bishops incorporate their personal arms with those of their diocese. For Bishop Reese of Trenton, the diocesan side of his coat of arms is composed of a form of the miller's cross, the golden Moline cross. It signifies the property William Trent bought near a mill later known as Trent Town or Trenton. The crescent is the symbol of the Blessed Virgin Mary, patroness of the diocese. On the personal arms side, the eagle and the book are to honor St. John the Evangelist, the baptismal patron of the bishop. The 3 grains of rice surrounding the eagle herald the English meaning of the bishop's surname, and the 2 pilgrims' staffs with water bottles suggest that the bishop's ancestors made a pilgrimage to Canterbury. Next, there is the insignia surrounding the shield, indicating rank and office. All personal ecclesiastical arms are surmounted by the pontifical hat with cord and tassels. The color of the hat and the number of the tassels denotes the user's rank. As we see here in the coat of arms of Camden's Bishop Guilfoyle, the rank of bishop is indicated by the green hat with 6 tassels on each side. Lastly, there is the motto, which expresses the spirit of the one who selects it. The motto of Philadelphia's Cardinal Crowell translates to, "God is my King," which is derived from the first verse of the 144th Psalm. Heraldry is many things: an art form, a language, and above all, a rich source of information. I'm Father Joe Glass with this moment in history.
Thanks, Father. Memorial Day weekend is just 1 week away. This means parties, barbecues, and weekend getaways.
We all know that holiday traffic can be hazardous. So many drivers on the road means an increased risk of accidents.
In Baltimore, Maryland, there's a reminder for caution on the highways in the form of a larger-than-life statue of Mary, known as Our Lady of the Highway.
Our next segment features a close-up look at this shrine and tells the story behind its creation.
She is known to those who see her most often as the Stone Lady. And for over 19 years, she has kept watch over Interstate 95 from her vantage point in Childs, Maryland. She is Our Lady of the Highways. Father Michael Connolly, the Director of Development for the Wilmington, Philadelphia province of the Oblates of St. Francis de Sales, who maintain the shrine of Our Lady of the Highways, explains the origin of the shrine.
Back in 1968, shortly after the John F. Kennedy Highway opened, there was a very bad accident directly adjacent to our property. A number of people were killed and injured, and there were 17 or 18 cars that piled up in that unfortunate tragedy. That incident sparked the interest of one Father John Fuquay, who is now deceased. But that accident so impressed him that he decided to do something to try to help people drive more defensively. So he got some interest from friends and from the order, and he put up a very small, modest statue of Our Lady of the Highways to be kind of a beacon, a landmark, a reference point for motorists as they passed this particular spot.
The original statue served the shrine until recently, when this new statue of Carrara marble was erected as a result of a fundraising drive to refurbish and to beautify the shrine. The shrine is located at the Center for New Life, a retreat house operated by the Oblates of St. Francis de Sales in Childs, Maryland, north of Baltimore on Interstate 95.
Interstate 95 goes from Florida to Maine and is the major thoroughfare for the eastern part of the United States, north and south. We estimate that millions of people pass this particular place every month. People write and tell us that the shrine is very important to them because they associate it with their spiritual life, that somehow the Stone Lady, as she is known in the truckers business, provides them with some sense of comfort and inspiration. The image over the highway is meant to remind people about the dignity of human life created by God and about the responsibility that each of us bears to preserve and protect and promote the quality of life. And we like to think that our statue in honor of Mary reminds people of that dignity and that responsibility about life in general, but particularly in this case about responsibility on the highway in a society that is so highly mobile.
Over the months, we've awaited with anticipation Mike Gallagher's update on the movie world.
And by now, we know that just because a movie is predicted to be a big box office draw, that doesn't necessarily guarantee a thumbs up from Mike Gallagher.
With this in mind, let's hear how he rates Therese, a highly acclaimed film documenting the life of St. Therese, the Little Flower.
Hello, I'm Mike Gallagher. Do you have to be a believer to make a good film about believers? I'll give a forthright answer, yes and no. Under ordinary circumstances, the question I pose would be an abstract one, since religious films are so few and far between. But in the past few months, we've had Roland Joffé's The Mission, nominated for Best Picture Academy Award, and Alain Cavalier's Therese, the critically acclaimed biography of St. Teresa of Lisieux. Both are good films. Neither Joffé nor Cavalier is a believer, so my question seems to answer itself in the negative. But things are a bit more complicated than that, a whole lot more complicated. You don't have to be a believer to make a good film about believers, whether Teresa and her fellow Carmelites of Lisieux or the 18th century Jesuits who sacrificed their lives for the Indians of South America, if, for example, you mock their beliefs and do a satire. Obviously, Joffé and Cavalier didn't take that route. Or you, an unbeliever, can make a good film about believers if you focus upon some other aspect of their lives than their beliefs. This is what I think Cavalier did. His emphasis upon style, and he poses and photographs his character so that there's a distinct resemblance to the paintings of Monet. Then take Cavalier's attitudes towards Therese's spiritual desolation and faith temptations. For a religious person, the question of whether God cares about us or doesn't, whether God indeed exists or doesn't, is a very important question. But for Cavalier, more taken up with style than substance, it's a non-question. It's enough for Cavalier that the joys and sorrows of Therese are picturesque, and that an Upper West Side Manhattan audience could be made to appreciate them, just as they can be made to appreciate the skillfully depicted customs of a Stone Age tribe. Cavalier's Therese is a good film, but it's not a good religious film because it has no religious passion. Joffé's The Mission is, however, because it has. It has religious passion because Joffé, the non-believer, empathized so strongly with his Jesuit protagonist that he, in a real sense, became a believer while he was doing it. In identifying with them, he had to share their feelings. Now, this also has a bearing on artistic quality. The artist must have a passionate concern for truth even when he or she is not sure what truth is. Cavalier, by showing insufficient concern for truth, comes very close to patronizing his subject, and his film is a lesser because of it. I'm Mike Gallagher for Arts Review.
Coming up next, we'll take a look at a local play about an unusual and fictional order of nuns.
But first, we have to take a short break, so don't go away. We'll be right back.
From the river to the ocean and everywhere in between, the Diocese of Trenton lives in its parishes, people, homes, and schools. And the Monitor newspaper is your way to keep aware of the renewal of the diocese. Lively features, accurate news reports, and columnists with something to say. Read the Monitor to find out what's happening in your church, from around the world, throughout the diocese, in your parish, from the ocean to the river. To subscribe, call area code 609-586-7400.
For our final feature tonight, we'll take you inside Philadelphia's Society Hill Playhouse to see for ourselves why the musical comedy Nunsense has become such a phenomenal success.
This lighthearted look at the fictitious religious order of the Little Sisters of Hoboken has an unforgettable cast of nuns who dance and sing their way through some unusual situations.
So let your imagination take you to Mount St. Helens School as we enter the world of Nunsense.
If you can recall a time when you began your paperwork with the initials JMJ, or if you remember clapping the blackboard erasers after school, then these 5 ladies have a play they want you to see. The play is called Nunsense. For a little more than a year and a half, this musical comedy about the fictional Little Sisters of Hoboken has been playing to packed houses of clergy and laity alike at the Society Hill Playhouse in Philadelphia. The story goes something like this. 5 nuns belonging to the Order of the Little Sisters of Hoboken are holding a benefit to raise money so they can bury the last 4 sisters of the 52 sisters who were poisoned by a bad batch of soup prepared by Sister Julia Child, and, well, you get the idea. What's important is not the plot, but the characters. There is Mother Superior, Sister Mary Cardelia, played by Joanne Bradley.
And this is like doing a cabaret show, because the audience becomes part of, on stage. They're with you. It's different.
Sister Mary Hubert, played by Donna Ryan.
Good time. It's not a farce. I guess I wouldn't call it a farce. I guess it's a show that kind of tugs at traditions that we've grown up with as Catholics. It doesn't really put them down, but it kind of plays with them, with what nuns were.
Sister Mary Amnesia, played by Denise Torpy Whalen.
Oh, we're trying to give them an insight into that nuns are human, and that nuns are funny, and they make mistakes, and they make jokes, and they have good times just like everyone else does.
Sister Mary Leo, played in this performance by Mary Ellen Grant.
Nunsense is an event in which you can participate. I think that's what makes it so special. It's a situation with 5 nuns in a terrible predicament, and they're asking for your help. It's a chance to kind of bring yourself back into that experience of being in Catholic school, or if you're not in Catholic school, to kind of view the experience of what it's like.
And Sister Mary Ralph Marie, played by Mickey Sharp.
The thing I like about this show is that it shows how human nuns really are, especially if you were born and raised Catholic and going through Catholic school for 12 years. You always have them as these nuns are something from outer space with these costumes on, you know.
Make my day. Sit up straight. Eyes forward. Do you know what time it is? Oh.
Nunsense is not a Philadelphia phenomenon. The play has enjoyed successful runs in New York, Washington, Chicago, Boston, and Detroit, and will hopefully soon begin playing to audiences in Europe and Australia. But a few questions must be asked. Is the play making fun of nuns? And how do clergy feel about the play?
We're having fun with nuns, not making fun with them. There's never the sense that we're being irreverent. I think in a sense there's a real sense of reverence for the nuns and for what they mean to us. There's a sense of joy and a sense of, again, the human element.
I think if anything we're making fun of the view that other people have of nuns. I think that that's really what makes it satirical, because we're letting our guard down and we're showing them what you think of us. This is what you think of us, but this is the way we really are. What the people are seeing is really what my experience of nuns are. They're people, and they've got a humorous side to them, and they're not made to be feared, but the sheer fact that people do fear them in some respect is what makes this funny, because when we do something to make the audience a little bit afraid because we're using our authority, that's what makes it humorous.
Well, we don't attack. That's the whole point of the show, is that we don't get involved in any of attacking any of the beliefs of Catholicism at all. We're just dealing with five nuns who are five different individuals who anybody in the audience who comes to see us can relate to. We're not mean. We don't say derogatory things about anything. It's just that it's a musical. We're up here to have a good time, and we're up here to promote good fun and make people forget about their cares for a while.
I've talked with many clergy and nuns that have come to see the show, and not at all. They don't feel that we're poking fun at them at all. Clergy that come to see the play are the best audiences. They laugh the loudest, and they clap the loudest, and they enjoy themselves the most. I think Nunsense is showing that nuns are human, and that they can have fun, and that they can cry and laugh and want to go out and have a good time just like anyone else can. And it's just that they're human.
We hope that this inside look at Nunsense has left a smile on your face and a song in your heart.
That wraps up our show for now. And if you'd like to comment, write to us at Reel to Reel, 222 North 17th Street, room 907, Philadelphia, PA 19103.
Or call us during business hours at area code 215-668-9842.
Next week, we'll climb the Rockies to admire a colossal shrine dedicated to the Blessed Mother.
We'll introduce you to a former building contractor who traded in his tools for the pulpit, all at the age of 80.
Father Tom Legere has a message about being light.
We'll get a fresh perspective on answering the call to the priesthood from a very recently ordained seminarian.
And Monsignor Murray shares his scriptural expertise with us.
We'll be looking for you next week. Good night.
Good night, and be confident, for Jesus is Lord.
Travel arrangements for Reel to Reel by Atkinson and Mullen Travel of Media, PA.
Are you 18 to 35? The next Saturday is your day. Our charismatic young adult prayer group meets at St. Charles Seminary from 7 to 9 p.m.
We've been together for 2 years now, and the numbers keep growing. That's the Spirit's power.
So get in on the action of the Spirit in your life, and invite others to come.
See you at St. Charles Seminary next Saturday at 7 p.m. If you need directions, call me at 668-HOPE.